Thank you so much. Sources tell us federal investigators are closing in on Mayor Cantrell, and they are specifically interested in why she fired a certain city employee in 2019.
Our David Hammer investigation into the mayor has uncovered new evidence that Cantrell helped a businessman get rid of a city official who was investigating that same businessman for possible fraud. And David Hammer is joining us now in the studio with the latest on this. David?
Yeah, Katie and Charisse, the inner workings of the city's permitting process can get pretty complicated, but there are really only two people you should know about in this story ahead of time. That's Randy Farrell and Larry Chan. They both have connections to the Department of Safety and Permits in New Orleans. They both have been arrested and accused of falsifying home inspections in Jefferson Parish, and they both allegedly had the ear of Mayor Cantrell. We start this story with convicted felon Randy Farrell. For years, Farrell's private company, IECI, has been doing most of the building construction and electrical inspections in town. IECI does that critical safety work on the city's behalf in place of the city's in-house inspection team. By law, IECI's inspectors can't get jobs as contractors in the city just to make sure they aren't inspecting their own handiwork. It's like a school making sure a student doesn't grade his own test. But more than a decade ago, the head of the city's Safety and Permits Department got wind that's exactly what was allegedly happening with Farrell and IECI.
But the investigation into Randy Farrell and the IECI activities dated back years. That was one of the first things I was briefed on in 2012.
Jared Munster ran the city's Safety and Permits Department. He said one of his deputies, Jennifer Cecil, helped lead the Farrell investigation. And in 2019, it looked like she caught Farrell red-handed.
She was the one who was in the system actually observing the irregularities that then led to reports being generated, forwarded to the OIG.
Cecil and her team uncovered dozens of checks from IECI, all signed by Randy Farrell, all paying for job permits for a single electrician. In fact, she found more than 400 of those permits in 2019 alone. And on every one of those jobs, Farrell personally approved the final safety inspection. In June 2019, Cecil wrote this email to an inspector general investigator warning, quote, "We should not have anyone inspecting their own work." Farrell's allies inside the city permitting office started making formal complaints against Cecil.
Just sort of fraudulent complaints to try to paint people holding them accountable in a bad light.
And not long after investigators started questioning the electrician about his permits, Cecil was fired. Sources tell us a federal grand jury investigating Mayor Cantrell has subpoenaed Cecil's emails about Farrell, including the one she sent to the inspector general. Former federal prosecutor Matt Chester says that could be significant.
101 as a federal prosecutor, you would want to get all the communications surrounding that decision, including Ms. Cecil's communications with anybody explaining why she believed she was fired.
WWL investigator Katie Moore sat down with the mayor in December and asked her if Farrell was behind the firing.
I guess, did he ask you to get rid of certain people in the department to make his life easier at any point?
No, I don't do favors I've never had any conversations with anyone, Randy Farrell or anyone else, relative to who I need to put in place in leadership to make it easy for anybody. So that's not how I lead. That's not leadership, and that's not my style. So I don't know where that's coming from.
Actually, it was coming from Randy Farrell himself. In this email in September from Farrell to the current Safety and Permits Director, Farrell wrote, quote, "I had asked Mrs. LaToya Cantrell to look into Jennifer Cecil's toxic environment at Safety and Permits, and she chose to remove her." Now, remember what Cantrell told us in December.
I've never had any conversations with anyone, Randy Farrell or anyone else, relative to who I need to put in place in leadership to make it easy for anybody.
But secret recordings of meetings Cantrell held with the Safety and Permits staff in August 2019 suggest otherwise.
Now, the last 5 years, our department has been a hostile work environment.
The city's chief building inspector at the time was Larry Chan. This city email shows Chan took the invitation for a staff-only meeting with Cantrell and immediately forwarded it to Farrell, who, remember, is not a city employee. Now, listen to Chan in the recording complaining to the mayor about Cecil.
So, since Jennifer Cecil is the backbone of charging me with things, and the directors, both directors signed off on it. Who do I go to if I want to speak to against her?
Cantrell then asks whether the department can handle it if she gets rid of Cecil.
Do you believe that we have what we need internally to fill leadership gaps should any become open?
3 days later, Cecil sent this text to an inspector general investigator. I've just been fired because of Larry. Now, the question for federal prosecutors remains. Did Farrell or his associates do anything for the mayor in return?
I mean, you're talking about the quo and the quid pro quo, right? You'd want to see, is there anything of value given by Mr. Farrell or anybody associated with Mr. Farrell to the mayor or anybody at City Hall that helped undertake these efforts?
Now, Mayor Cantrell's criminal defense attorney, Eddie Castang, declined to comment today. Farrell's defense attorney, Rick Simmons, argued that Farrell paying for an electrician's permits is, quote, perfectly proper, but sometimes misunderstood. Farrell pled guilty to federal tax fraud involving IECI and his other businesses, but he's not been charged with any crime involving IECI's inspections in the city of New Orleans. Sources tell us that the feds are still looking at Farrell, however, and are getting close to wrapping up their wide-ranging case involving Mayor Cantrell. Katie?
All right, David, much more to come. Thank you.